Well, one of the worst problems you can get in corn is Goss's wilt, so today we want to talk about how to solve it.
Well, I don't know if we can completely solve Goss's wilt, but we can
Good
certainly
point.
manage it in the field, minimize its impact. And when we think about Goss's wilt, the biggest challenge with it, as you probably well know, is it's a bacterial disease rather than a fungal disease. So this past year across the Corn Belt, we saw many farmers saying, wow, I had a 20 bushel gain or even more using a tasseling time fungicide application for all the diseases that were out there. However, if that farmer had Goss's wilt, he still had yield loss because the fungicides have zero activity on Goss's wilt. Now you can say, well, I can reduce all the other disease pressure out there and try and have a healthier plant. That's very true, and you probably are more able to fight Goss's wilt if you have a healthy plant, but still fungicides don't work. We don't really have a consistent treatment option for Goss's wilt, so our best bet is to try to avoid it to begin with.
Well, as soon as you mentioned treatment options, right away I'm thinking, hey, this is a bacterial disease, why don't I just use a bactericide? But the problem is the bactericides that have been used and tested, they just don't give us real consistent results. The other big challenge, just like you know with fungicide, is timing. Are you going to get the timing just right? As soon as Goss's wilt shows up, are you going to be out there at exactly the right time? Boy, that is really difficult. So rather than do that, we would prefer to see you use tillage, or the most important thing is really varietal selection. I'm not a big fan of full-scale, all-out tillage for many reasons, including erosion, but hey, if you have to do that, yes, it will help, but I still come back to the very best thing you can do is pick the right hybrids.
Here's the challenge. I don't care which seed company you really like. Maybe you like DeKalb, maybe you like Pioneer or somebody else. That's fine. Each one of those has just a couple of good numbers for Goss's wilt tolerance, and then they get a whole bunch that stink. And guess which numbers sell out first across the country? Well, it's generally the ones that are really good with Goss's wilt tolerance. And you just never know with seed companies, when you order something, are you actually going to get what you ordered? When it comes to springtime, what we often hear the seed dealers say is, well, I got you these 3 numbers, but that 4th one, well, they ran a little short on it, or the germ didn't make it, or whatever happened. So we've got a substitute for you for that one. And you know what? It was a pretty good yielder last year. In fact, I think it even beat that one that you were going to get. So here you go. Here's the hybrid that you're going to have. In the meantime, they don't tell you about, well, this one's really susceptible to Goss's wilt. So you have to be very cautious, especially if you're in a continuous corn situation. Make sure you're planting a hybrid that's very tolerant to Goss's wilt. Save those susceptible ones for areas that really don't have a problem with Goss's wilt. And even then, I'm still a little nervous if I'm in an area that typically has some Gosses.
Well, the reason why you should be nervous, Darren, is I don't think a lot of the seed companies really know their level of tolerance, because it all depends on what did they go through for testing the year before. Well, if it wasn't a bad year for Goss's wilt the year before, did all their hybrids actually get subjected to the worst possible Gosses so they can make an appropriate rating? Probably not. So that's why I worry about that a little bit all the time. So be sure you're working with a company that actually knows, or better yet, try new things, new products on a small scale until you get real comfortable with it in a big Goss's situation.
All right, Goss's wilt is a big problem in corn. Again, you have to manage it going into the crop. You can use some tillage if that's possible in your situation to bury residue that's infected from last year, or if you're in a no-till situation, your best bet is just pick the most tolerant hybrid that you can possibly find and use that to try and reduce your chances of having Goss's wilt.
Well, what's actually the best bet is completely rotating away from corn, but if you don't want to do that, then these certainly are the next best options. Well, the best option for our Weed of the Week is coming up next.